Hey there guys, today I'm going to do a quick rundown of consoles versus the PC, and just to go through, it's going to be a mix of fact and opinion. It's impossible to do one of these recordings without using your own opinion, because I'm obviously a PC gamer, so if I wasn't a PC gamer I would think, because I'm a PC gamer I obviously think that PC gaming is the better way to go over consoles. And I'm going to put my point forward. I'm also going to look at the console point of view, but currently it doesn't stand up to much. Why you should change to PC gaming, really? Because it's cheaper. A lot of people don't think it's cheaper because a lot of people don't realise what you can get away with. And if you check out a couple of my other videos, you can look at quite the cheap hardware you can get away with. And a lot of people don't realise, but console games have about a £10 premium on every game, £10 to £15 premium. So every game you get for the PC, a lot of them, like Assassin's Creed 3, okay, Assassin's Creed 3 was released a month later, but it was released with textures that were 4 times as good as the console textures, and it was released for £15 less. So really, we win. Like as long as you eventually get the game, like a month isn't that long to wait, and yeah, we got a better deal out of that. Also, there's the rumour of you need the best hardware, you need to spend loads. There was a day and age when hardware was incredibly expensive. I'm not going to deny it. The computer gaming scene was a really elite market, but more and more people have been coming over to computers. And there's been a mix of things. There's been economies of scale because more and more people have been getting into computer gaming. Prices have gone down because there's a larger consumer base, so they're shipping more products, so they can afford to make more products, and that means they can make it in bulk and sell it more cheaply. There's also been obviously the economic downturn that's helped slightly in reducing prices of products. There are still the elite products out there. I mean, if you look at the AMD Asus Ares 2, that's a £1,200 graphics card, but nobody needs that. Quite frankly, you can get away with something that's about $100 or £80. That's the AMD 7770 HD for graphics cards. If you are a console gamer and you're not very good with graphics cards, basically there's 2 companies. There's Nvidia and AMD. The AMD currently best entry level graphics card is the 7770 HD. And the Nvidia best entry level graphics card is the 650 Ti with boost. These 2 graphics cards are better than either of the consoles in terms of graphics, and they're relatively cheap. If you mix them with a cheap processor like the Pentium G2020 or a low-end i3 that are both fine for gaming, with 4 gigs of RAM, you're probably looking at about £500 for a gaming PC. Maybe even £400 if you can get some good deals or you find some cheap stuff off eBay. Another point worth mentioning is everyone's like, okay, so you're spending £500, console is still £250. Yes, the console is still £250, but you can't do everything you can do with a console with a PC. Everybody needs a computer. Whether it be a desktop or a laptop is down to how that person likes to use their computers. But everybody needs a computer, and to get a good sort of entry-level computer, you're going to be spending £300 anyway. So that extra £250 that you just spent on a console, if you were to spend that on a computer, you would be getting a good gaming PC and probably a better gaming experience. In my opinion and my sort of experience, my brother's got a PS3 and I do occasionally play it. Consoles, if you're going to have a few guys over and some beers, sometimes it's nice to sit down and play a game of COD or Battlefield together. Four-player split screen is a really good thing about consoles. I won't deny it. That is one of the advantages they have. However, PC gaming just by yourself or with friends online is more enjoyable in my opinion. Controllers cost a lot of money considering what they are. They're just pieces of plastic with a tiny little circuit board inside them. They cost about £10 for Sony to manufacture or Microsoft to manufacture. They sell them for ridiculous amounts of money. And you can just do more on a PC. Like my PC that I've got for gaming cost me £500 to put together. I also use it for recording. I use it for all of my university work. I game on it a lot. I can max out almost every current game, and yeah, and just graphically as well. I know there's the argument. Well, it's kind of an annoying argument. When a new console comes out, everyone's like, "Oh, look at the graphics! Oh, look at the graphics! This is amazing! This is amazing!" Then when it gets to the end of the console lifespan, and all the PC gamers are like, "Yeah, we've had these graphics for a while, or we've got better graphics than that." All the console gamers are sort of like, "Oh, graphics don't matter. It's all about the gameplay," and just it's very contradictory. The console gamers are trying to sort of up their sort of console, their system as much as they can. And this was seen between the Xbox 360 and PS3 as well. PS3 players basically saying their graphics are better, blah 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 blah. Exclusives. This is something the PC does have, believe it or not. We have a lot of exclusives, and we have a lot of really great exclusives. They tend to be more indie games, so they don't tend to be publicised amazingly. But if you have ever played Amnesia, you know we have some of the best games, sort of, what's it called? Just games for the PC there are, and we've got so many of them as well because we've got an indie game market and the Kickstarter market. These are basically sole developers that make games and then just publish them, and you can just download them and run them. This can't be done on consoles because I don't know if you know, but there was a point where Microsoft was actually charging companies $50,000 for every patch that they released, and it's I needn't say much more really. If you're an independent developer, you can't afford $50,000 just to release a game or a patch. You're not going to go down that market. Now, moving on to the PS4 and Xbox 720 release. Currently, there's the most recent range of AMD graphics cards. I'm only going to talk about AMD graphics cards for now because they're the only ones that are in the new consoles. Are the AMD 7000 series. Now, the low-end AMD 7000 series are the AMD 7750, 7770, and 7790. The mid-range are the 7850, the 7870, and the high-end are the 7950 and the 7970. As you can tell, high number means better graphics card. Simple as that. The two new consoles are going to be based on the 7790. That's right, a low-end graphics card that's it's nothing revolutionary. It's from an architecture that's been around for 2 years, and basically they're saying that game developers won't know what to do with their graphics card until 2015. Well, here's newsflash: the 7790 can only run Crysis 3 at about medium settings on a computer. So to say that the 7790 hasn't even reached its stride yet is just a complete lie from the console developers. I know it's slightly altered, but the only alteration they've made is so it can use RAM that's system RAM. So the consoles are both going to have 8 GB of DDR5 RAM, and that's going to be shared between the GPU and the CPU, unlike the traditional configuration that is the graphics chip, the 7790 processor, has its own RAM. That's not going to happen. It's just going to be split between the two. So really, no, the graphics isn't going to be amazing. For the last few years, we've seen games actually having to release custom graphics because the consoles couldn't handle it. Crysis 2, for instance, and Crysis 3, but they released them straight away. Crysis 2, you had to wait for a patch. The consoles were struggling to run it at sort of 20 frames a second on the lowest settings, so they had to go back to the drawing board and make some resolutions that are actually less than the lowest resolutions you could run on the PC, and they did this the same with Crysis 3, and then released that to the consoles because the consoles just couldn't run it. And if you ever bought Crysis 3 on a console, Crysis 2, sorry, on a console, you'd know that. You'd know the frame rate drops and it was just unplayable. This wasn't because of bad coding. This was because the graphics chip couldn't handle it. So yeah, that is basically the current console situation, and why you should change to PC gaming. There are so many YouTube videos out there on how to build your PC. There's a lot of them use high-end hardware because they're kind of people's own rigs that they've either disassembled and are putting back together just to show you how to do it, or they're new rigs that they just bought and they want a high-end rig because they're on YouTube and they're probably going to be using their rig for sort of video editing, video recording, and stuff like that. But in the real world, just for gaming, you really don't need to spend that much. It's not anymore very elite. sort of area. Also, Steam sales are worth mentioning. If you don't know what a Steam sale is, basically over Easter, summer and Christmas, Steam, that's the main sort of distribution network on PC, just type Steam into Google, have a massive sale. And these are games that have been out for like a month sometimes, going down to 75% off every day for sort of 2 weeks. 4 games a day go on flash sale from anywhere from sort of 25 to 80. I've seen one at sort of 90% off, I think. Far Cry 3 went down to 75% off like less than 2 months after release. Things like that. So that's really good. And we have weekly sales anyway, and weekend sales as well, every weekend and every week. I'll just go on Steam now and tell you what the current sale is. Dun, dun, dun. So actually, no, where is it? LA Noire, that's quite an old game now, to be fair. But LA Noire, if you've ever seen it, is currently 75% off for £6.25. £5 actually for the standard version. Grand Theft Auto Complete Pack, so that's every Grand Theft Auto game you can get, is currently £17.49. That's Grand Theft Auto 2, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 4, and Grand Theft Auto Tales of Liberty City, I think it is. Episodes from Liberty City, sorry. So you can see just there, there's just 2 random sales that I've plucked out. There's also Brutal Legend if you're interested in games like that. And Defense Grids, that's a tower defense game, I think, for £1.74. That's 75% off. So yeah, there's some really good games out there on sale. Origin also currently have a sale on. You can get all of the Command and Conquer series for like half price. You can get Battlefield 3 Premium Edition for 20 quid at the minute. If I type that into Google for consoles, Battlefield 3 Premium Edition, and you can very quickly see that, okay, your original where's the shopping button? Shopping. Premium Edition, Xbox 360, 32 quid for the cheapest, and 34 quid for the cheapest on PS3. So you can see straight away that although your initial expenditure probably will be a bit more than if you're going to buy the console, I won't lie, you're going to save that with buying games. And also the longevity of the PC. There's the rumour that you have to keep upgrading. You don't. As I've already said, the new consoles are being based on much more PC-like architecture. They're going to go with the 7790, and consoles normally stick around for about 7 years. So if you were to buy the 7790, there is no reason that you couldn't be gaming for 7 years. In 7 years' time, you're going to have to be running on low settings and maybe at 720p. But there is really, your graphics card, your computer is going to last as long as the consoles last. That's just a fact, because it's the same hardware. That's another thing worth mentioning. Consoles used to be based on sort of their own custom hardware. I don't know if you remember the PS3 release, but they were going on about their Cell architecture. They got their Cell CPU, that's a 6-core CPU. It sounded all really great. What they forgot to mention is this isn't what PCs use, and games are designed on PCs. It's very difficult as well because a lot of games are multi-platform. That means they run on all 3 of the platforms, Xbox, PS3 and PC. And basically Sony apologised at this during the PS4 announcement with the hardware. They said sorry for releasing that processor because they made it really tricky for game developers to do this multi-platforming really easily and make games run well on the PS3. Another thing you've got to be careful of is the announcements they do in terms of facial rendering and things like this, because they are rendering one face only. They released the same one with the PS3, or almost the same one, and we never saw anything like it because game developers just don't bother to do it because it's a hell of a lot of work and the console can't actually handle it when you put loads of them on screen. Another thing to be wary of, I can't remember the exact game name now, but it had a really cool looking dragon in it that was released. That was sort of, the gameplay was shown during the PS4 announcement. Sorry, and yeah, it looks great. I have to agree. I personally hope that it's released on the PC as well, because it does look really pretty, or a similar game is released on the PC. Be very careful. Those environments were incredibly dark, and it was in the middle of a cave. This is because it needs to limit the number of polygons on screen to give you that graphics sort of fluidity, and that kind of, those graphics. The PS4 obviously can't handle that in a big open world environment, else they would have shown it in a big open world environment, because the whole idea of those demos were sort of to show the graphics. That's what those demos are for. You can say it's just to advertise some games. It's not. That whole demo was designed to show what the PS4 is capable of, and some PS4 only games that are going to be coming to it. So we had some really great looking games coming, but I think that one sparked the most attention in terms of the graphics, and I just wanted to say be a bit careful with that. Anything else worth mentioning? I don't think there is really anything else worth mentioning, actually. So I've given my opinions. I've given the facts that the consoles are based on current gen hardware from an architecture that's 2 years old, and the lies they have told. This won't be reaching fruition in 2015. This has already reached fruition. Unreal Engine 4 has been out for a while, if you haven't seen that, and they haven't actually made any games in that yet, but I'm looking forward to games in that. But the consoles are probably only going to be running at medium or low settings already in that engine, with that hardware. And come to PC gaming, because we have the better deals. In the long term, we save money because of sales and because of lower priced games. One last thing worth mentioning. There's been a increase. If you've owned a console, sometimes they come with these online pass keys that sort of lock that online pass to your account. This is to reduce the amount of second-hand sales, because companies don't get any revenue from second-hand sales. Both the PS4 and the new Xbox will contain hardware that allows games to be locked to that device. The issue they had with the last generation of consoles was that the only way you could actually lock a game was to the user. That wasn't really fair, because obviously if you've got a family of users using one PS3, they wanted everybody to be able to enjoy the game. So they released the online passes as sort of like they can play online on one person's user, but everyone can actually play the game. Now they've got a piece of hardware installed, and Sony have said that it's not. They don't have to use it, but they've sort of been pressured into put it in there by the developers and the publishers, people like EA. And if you know anything about the gaming state, you know what dickheads EA are. So they put this hardware in because of pressure from the publishers and from the game devs, and this will allow them to lock games to your console. So if you sell them, they will not work on any other console. Because everything is going to be always online, and that's if you've heard anything about PC gaming, that's what the trend that's moving towards at the minute. It started first on PCs because we are the most open platform. That's unfortunate. Fortunately, we have a nice group of hackers that have hacked a lot of the stuff. SimCity was probably the most recent diabolical launch in terms of always online. Kind of necessary because all the simulation is done for the region on the servers and has been proved by hackers. For those that still don't believe it, you can run the game offline, but the region doesn't work. So just be careful with that, because the PS4 and Xbox both have this always online capability that you've really got to be careful of. And PC gamers are sort of the ones that are fighting it at the minute. Hopefully the console gamers will be fighting it too when that comes out. And just like I say, be careful. And it's another reason to change over to PC, because we've got hackers that sort of crack it anyway. Of course, I can't recommend downloading illegal games, but my point is we've got the guys hacking it. That means they realise that actually it might not work, and that maybe they should try and use alternative methods like more sales and things like this. And making better games rather than spending all the game development money on DRM that doesn't work. That's aimed at you, SimCity. I think PC gaming is best because you can build a PC for that's better at gaming than a console for the price of a console plus a average desktop PC. You can get cheaper games. You can get better looking games. Well, you do get better looking games. There's no doubt about it. You get Steam and Steam sales. Origin have just started doing sales that I'm surprised by because it's owned by EA. And yeah, just in general, I found it to be a more enjoyable experience after having to go on the PS3. And we do have a lot of exclusives. If you haven't played, if you like any kind of horror game, do yourself a favour and download Amnesia. It's incredibly good. It will probably run on a laptop, to be honest. It's a relatively old game, but it's still renowned as the best horror game ever to be released. So yeah, do yourself a favour. If you've got a laptop even, just go and download that and use that as an introductory sort of thing to PC gaming. You can get it from Steam. It's really good. And yeah, there are loads of other things like Bastion. Give that a YouTube. They've got another game coming out that I can't quite remember the name of now, but that's looking really good as well. And just yeah, well worth looking into. Even if you're not necessarily interested in moving over to the PC, the new consoles are about to come out. So if you're going to change system, now's the time to do it. So yeah, worth looking into. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you liked the video. Yeah, check out my other videos. I've got a couple of videos just explaining what you can get away with in terms of PC gaming, so you'll be able to see quite how cheaply you can do it if you just listen to the parts that I suggest and then give them a Google. And yeah, thanks for listening.